Hey guys, what's going on? So I wanted to bring you another Mavic tutorial. This is for any drone in particular, but it's about winter flying with your drone. Oh shoot. So we just got back, we're taking care of chores, which is why I have, this giant box. Let me drop this off. Like I was saying, we just got back from Mammoth. We did some awesome winter flying out in the snow with the Mavic. So I wanted to bring you guys a tutorial that's all about winter flying, some tips and tricks so that you can fly safely without crashing your drone or freezing your butt off when you're out in the snow flying your drone. Let's get into the tips. This is for any drone, not just the DJI MAVIC Pro, but I've been recently flying with the DJI MAVIC Pro. So if you are also flying the DJI MAVIC Pro, these tips will work great. Okay, number one is to avoid any moisture. Moisture ruins the electronics of a drone. So as much as possible, avoid all moisture. So that means, if it's snowing out, make sure you have some sort of cover to be able to get the drone out and make sure that everything is ready to go before you put it out in the snow. Yes, you can fly in the snow, and I did with my DJI MAVIC Pro, but just keep in mind that any moisture will ruin the electronics and could cause a crash. Number two, don't add any extra weight. So the cold is reducing the amount of flight time that you're gonna have. If you add more weight to your Mavic Pro, like putting another camera on it, like a 360 camera or something like that, you're just going to reduce the flight time even more. As much as possible, fly the drone as is because your flight time's reduced and you don't wanna crash. Number three is to dry your propellers or any other aspect of your drone before you take it into the air. When you're flying in winter conditions, it's cold. And a lot of times it's below freezing. So if there's any sort of moisture on your drone, it could cause ice and it might cause your drone to crash at any moment. Number four is don't fly into the clouds. So clouds contain moisture. By flying into the clouds, you could cause your drone to get ice buildup, which again could cause a crash. Number five, when flying at higher altitudes, your drone needs to spin the propellers faster to keep the drone in the air, which drains your battery faster. So think about it, if you're flying from a mountain at 10,000 feet versus a valley which is at 4,000, your drone is going to be working harder the higher altitude because the air is thinner. So it's another way that your battery is going to be reduced in the amount of time that you're going to have in the air. So if you're flying at a high altitude, keep that in mind that your battery will drain faster. Number six, I did mention this, you can fly while it's snowing, but I highly advise if there's too much snow, do not go and fly. When I flew last in the snow, it was a light dusting coming down. And yeah, I was a little bit nervous when I was flying the drone, but it held up just fine. The Mavic Pro especially, built pretty robust. I've seen some pretty amazing tests, but I'm not gonna go fly my drone through a snowstorm and expect it to stay in the air. Let's go over the major issue when flying in the winter. This is the battery. So cold weather causes batteries to drain faster. And the biggest issue with a drone is a voltage dropout. Because it's so cold outside, your voltage could drop and the drone could think that it's out of juice and just fall out of the sky. It happens. I personally have not had it happen to me yet, and I really hope it never happens. So here are some tips to make sure you don't get some voltage dropouts. Number one, check your batteries to make sure they're in good condition. Don't fly with old batteries. Just make sure that your batteries are good, that they're holding a charge like they should be in normal conditions. Number two is charge your battery up to 100% 24 hours before your first flight at most. So don't be charging your batteries a week and then go out and take it for a flight in the cold. You want to make sure that you have a full charge and that everything is working properly. So within 24 hours, charge your battery and get it to 100%. Number three, keep batteries warm at all times. If they feel cold to the touch, then they're not good to fly. Number four, when you take off, don't just go flying straight out into the clouds. Let it hover, let it sit there for about 30 seconds, make sure that everything's working properly, fly it around really low to the ground, and watch the battery. See if there's any big drops. And if everything's good to go, you can take off and start flying. And then number five is to avoid full throttle, especially during your first few minutes of flying. If you push the throttle at full, you're at 10,000 feet, it's freezing, your battery might think that there's no juice left in the can, and it will just drop out of the sky. It's not going to give you a warning that says, oh, you have 30% left and your drone crashes. Number six, keep hand warmers on you to keep your batteries warm. So if you're out in the cold, those little hand warmers that you might use for skiing or snowboarding, throw those next to a battery just to keep your batteries at a decent temperature and they don't freeze. So if you have 3 batteries and you're out in the cold, just make sure all your batteries are staying at a decent temperature. Okay, 2 more tips before you go off and start flying in the winter. Okay, Rach, when you're in the cold and it's freezing, what's one article of clothing that you have to have?
This Patagonia jacket.
Besides that?
Gloves.
Gloves. So one thing that you need to have when you're flying your drone is gloves, because your fingers will get cold. But the best thing is you got to get the ones that you can still touch your iPhone with, because if you don't have that, how are you going to control all the controls on your iPhone? You want some sushi? My second tip, especially for anyone using a DJI product, is if your drone needs your phone, then make sure your phone is fully charged. A tip for that is make sure your phone's at 100%. If it's not at 100%, just keep a power bank on you to keep your phone always charged, because you want to make sure that your phone's at a decent percentage. The same thing, if you have hand warmers, keep it near your batteries, your phone, all electronics, because as soon as things start freezing, you're going to get the voltage drop out and your drone's going to crash, or you're going to lose a signal, or there's so many things that could go wrong in winter because you're flying in freezing conditions that it really affects electronics. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. We got lots of cool stuff. We've got awesome vlogs, and you should check them out because we're traveling around the world for the entire year, probably longer too, but we're going to travel a ton and we're going all over the place, and there's lots of drones involved. Alright guys, I'll see you on the next one.